Paul, you mentioned earlier on actually about this sort of this anonymous quote about people, law firms have, like, I've only got like 1 or 2 marketing firms, but I've got 100 law firms, and what's going on here. But I was wondering if this is about focus and it's about core business. Is this part of the problem that law firms have got, the traditional law firms, is this millstone of full service, that you've got to do everything. And very few businesses in other sectors try to do everything. You don't do that. You can only be IBM and try and do everything. And Jill, you mentioned earlier that you want to multi-source, you want to get lots of different firms to do certain things and behave that way. But law firms haven't responded. Because law firms haven't responded to say, okay, well, in that case, we're going to do just that. That's what we're going to do. Just as we're not going to try and do everything. And if you do that, you can then focus on exactly what it is that you do and deliver, and you can bond yourself to. It's much easier to focus on how to understand what your clients want if you only do one thing that they, of all things they do.
Yes, it's hard to argue with that, I think, and again, it will shift in different ways at different times, but a lot of the sort of full service proposition is that wherever you touch this firm, you'll get the same service and it will feel empathetic to your needs. And yet we talk to partners and they're saying, well, this is my client, and I'm not going to hand off to pensions team or the employment team because I hardly know them. They work in a different office. I might as well recommend a different law firm. So that's been a bit of a myth, I think. And again, the clients have not been very clever, I think, in exposing that myth and not been very disciplined in wanting a different model either. It goes a little bit to this point of innovation and the challenge on whether it should be the client who asks for innovation. I'm a little bit ambivalent about that, to be honest. That I often use that Henry Ford quote that if you ask people what they want from transportation, they would say faster horses. And the sense in which you can expect a general counsel who thinks clearly and strategically and has got a team to run, to actually think, now I'm going to reinvent what the external legal service needs to look like. I think they haven't got the bandwidth and they don't have the experience and they don't have the inside knowledge. The firms have got to be the people who innovate, and they've got to come forward with propositions which change the way people think about them. One of the ways they might do that is to break up these sort of monolithic structures.
Can I put subsidiary to that?
There were bound to be 2 questions.
What you were saying, really, in a way, that does that mean that you need to? The problem there might be the fact that we have expected partners to be the people who have client contact, who do the selling and everything else, and BD people in law firms are fundamentally not client-facing, which is bad. Yes, and so is that not actually a case of saying, okay, make client account managers, start creating account management? Those are the people who should be doing it.
And that's exactly the way we do it. But of course, that's happened in every other industry for the last 20, 30, 40 years. So I think what's interesting, a lot of the things you're going to see happening in the legal market have happened in every other sector of the economy. It always makes me laugh when people say we're market disrupting. No, we're not. All we're doing is applying common sense to an industry that's not had it for a while. So I think the fascinating thing is actually that focus on the client is really key, but the structure is important, the way you reward and incentivize is important. I think interesting about the full service firms, you're already seeing at the margins the break up anyway. You're seeing lots of boutiques being created. You're seeing a lot of people starting to come out and establish really high class boutiques who are going to satisfy and take a lot of the work for some of the big players. And that's going to actually facilitate some of the changes taking place as well, but the structure is really important.
But what I've found with some clients, though, is some clients have said, we don't want the boutiques all the time. We want to know that if we go to that firm, they can handle everything that we happen to run into, even if we don't do that kind of work at all. Like, for example, if you have a financing company that wants all their financing done with this firm, they want to make sure that if they get into litigation, they can use that firm for litigation. So I think that builds on this perception that we have to have a full service firm so that we can accommodate the client when that need arises and keep the client there.
But I think that goes back to the point that you were making earlier and the one that Paul was making earlier. The key question for general counsel and heads of legal within businesses is, what is the core function of the legal activity? What is it? Whatever happens, we're never going to outsource it. We need to have that done in-house. Right. Then you look at, how do I source the rest? And I think what's interesting, this is where it gets back to the innovation and creativity. Historically, sourcing the rest was panel arrangements, or we build it in-house. What you're now going to see is the rise of alternatives being driven by new entrants. But of course, law firms will respond. They can't not respond. Law firms will respond because they have no choice. And the winners out of this are the customers.